You also have one more corner
in
tier 1.
Yeah.
And now this is a corner that's probably going to be number 1 on a lot of lists out there. I
mean, it's number 1 on everybody's, it seems like, right? I'm the only guy that's kind of different on this one. And again, I want to make sure that, I make it clear here. This guy's really good. I just didn't like him as much as the other two we talked about.
Your number 3 corner is?
Christian Gonzalez, Oregon. There's not much to pick apart here. This is why they're all in tier 1. This is nitpicky stuff. We're talking about awesome versus awesome versus awesome, right? Now, Christian Gonzalez, unlike the other two, yeah, he's got a little more size and meat on his bones. The T. Higgins of the world, the bigger receivers of the world, they're going to have a harder time pushing him around and doing that stuff. He's got incredible ball skills. Technique, off the charts good, all of that. There's not much here. I mean, he looks prototype. He looks Darrelle Revis, Champ Bailey-ish in his uniform, right? So it looks awesome. And the film is awesome too, okay? It really is. His straight speed is real. His ability to, plant his foot in the ground, break on the ball, out of transition, all that, it is really, really good. But it's not as good as the two before. The two before were outstanding in that department. I mean, outstanding. When I talk about put the foot in the ground, drive on a ball, break it up. Close, double move, close the gap. I got to restart and get going here. That's where I give them a little bit better of an advantage over Christian Gonzalez. Now, Gonzalez, ball skills, I maybe give to him in that department. Size and strength, give to him in that department. But I also say size and strength and coverage, but not in like the tackling, physicality, other aspects, taking on blocks. He wasn't nearly as physical as Turner or Witherspoon in that department. And you're shaking your head because you watched some of these highlights and saw that too.
That's what I do. I scout the highlights after you give me a list there.
Right.
And you're right. It does pop for Witherspoon and for Turner. And not as much as Witherspoon, but they just play with an edge and aggressiveness. Gonzalez doesn't do that. But we've said that about players in the NFL. Some elite corners, right? Jalen Ramsey doesn't necessarily love contact all the time. And they can be elite in the NFL still. That's where I don't go crazy with tackling or anything like that.
I just want to make sure, if the guy's in the open field, is he going to tackle him? That's really, at the end of the day, all I worry about. But all the other, like that stuff we're talking about, it's just pluses, right? I wouldn't have still made Witherspoon or Turner one where I went, they're kamikaze, they're physical, but, they can't cover anybody man-to-man, right? I mean, that was just icing on the cake, right? So I'm not going to. But here's another part of it, too. One, the size, the hips are great. The speed, I don't think the speed and twitchiness is up there the same quite as Turner and Witherspoon, right? And there's a part of me, again, too, where, I don't want this to sound negative. I don't, because the guy is awesome. He just wasn't as edgy as the other guys. He didn't seem, the film didn't seem as competitive to where it was like, he got a catch on me. Like the other two, like they almost looked like they wanted to kill themselves when somebody caught the ball on them, right? Not that Gonzalez was happy or anything, but I just didn't see the same edginess throughout all their games or films or anything in that department. And I put a little something into that in this position because I think that's very important to survive in the NFL, especially at corner.
Yeah, stylistically, just watching him, he's more smooth.
Very smooth. He's going to be a course can play man-to-man and match up better against DeAndre Hopkins than the other two will. But, I don't know if he'll match up better with Jalen Waddle or Jamar Chase than the other two. I'm not ready to say that. I'm not. Zone, hey, he's very good in zone. All these guys are. Now, his length and his size are more of an advantage for him in zone. I don't think he's going to be able to play the slot like the other two, too, Ken. And, again, I'm putting value into that. Because I'm kind of done with, slot or this or that. That. Cover a guy, can you cover him or not? And the other two can go inside against the jitterbug types and do that too. I don't know if this guy can do that, right? So that's where he's awesome. And I certainly don't want it to sound like a negative that he's number 3. And I am very realistic to know that the NFL community, majority of them are going to like him. I understand that.
So you would not be surprised if he was the first off the board?
I would not. I would not be surprised. I think Witherspoon's size will scare people. I think ultimately, Witherspoon or him are going to be the first off the board. But as you are seeing here, that I think My guy DJ Turner's every bit in that conversation with them.
Christian Gonzalez has good bloodlines. Younger brother of Colombian American Olympic hurdler Melissa Gonzalez, and All-American hurdler Samantha Gonzalez. His dad played basketball at UTEP and semi-pro in Colombia, and so he's got the athletic ability, and that really is an elite trait for him. I think we have his decagon.
Yeah.
It's a decagon now? We've gone up to 10? That's amazing. What determines? I guess it's just if they tested on it or not, right?
That's right.
I give him props. He tested on all this stuff.
Everything. I know.
I like that. I like that. So vertical leap, he was very elite, 96th percentile. Broad jump, 95. What is that? 40-yard dash, 89.
Yeah.
And the height and weight and all that stuff there, he fills up a lot of the gon.
He does. Right. Exactly right. 10-yard split's not great, right? That's, again, where I get into a little bit of like what I'm talking about, the ability to close, the ability to put your foot in the ground and then drive on the ball. It's not in the same level as Witherspoon and company. But that broad jump, that vertical jump, what that does show is like the hip flexibleness and that there. And that's where you do see that in him. But, yeah, the other thing I didn't like is, I didn't feel like he got challenged as much as the other two. Didn't get put in some of the positions the other two got put in, right? And again, that's not necessarily his fault. I just got to see those guys in some of those situations more that made me feel more comfortable. And I wrote towards the end, I just wrote his burst out of transition is not like the elite of the elite. And probably a few too many steps at times as well. And that happens when you're a little bit bigger, right? But his technique is real, and he's a top 20 pick. You talk about size, technique, and then you talk about straight speed. Yeah, of course this guy's one of the top corners in the draft, one of the top players in the draft, and I expect him to be a top 20 pick.
Here's one thing that I really like. He played on special teams. He played quite well.
Yeah.
Blocked some kicks.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, again, this is high level, big time athlete. He ball skills has incredible. Like, if he sees it, hands, they're great. I did not think he was, he's a little into the try to knock the ball out of the receiver's hands as he's catching it. And I did not think he was the best in that department, right? I told you about the zone,
Yeah, his ball skills at times, when he looks good, he looks like
amazing.
He looks like a wide receiver.
Right. But as you start to go through it, too, there's a lot of plays where you go, just turn and make a play on the ball. Don't, try to time it out and knock the ball out of the receiver's hands. The receiver catches it. But other than that, man, I don't know. I don't think I'm missing anything.
Yeah. That's good. And if the homies have questions, we can address those.
We can get into it.
Why you don't have him number one like everyone else out there, but the homies who have listened long enough know the reasons, and those were laid out very well.
Yo, thanks for watching, homies. It's the off season, but there's no off season for us here at Unbuttoned. Me, Ahmed Fareed, we're going to hit all the stories. So hit subscribe for us, okay? We got a ton coming up. My draft prospect rankings, my Simms top 40 quarterback countdown, and videos of me and NFL QBs playing catch and talking about their development and mechanics. Again, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe. Peace out, homies. See you soon.